Hello everyone. Myself Dr. Chandrasekhar Gupta, Scientific Officer, Pest Risk Analysis, working at the National Institute of Plant Health Management, Hyderabad. Today I will discuss plant quarantine in India, the role of the National Plant Protection Organization, and most importantly, the critical role custom officials play in preventing the introduction of invasive pests, diseases, genetically modified organisms, and other biosecurity threats through international trade. In an era of increasing globalization and trade, plant quarantine is not only a regulatory requirement but also a national biosecurity measure protecting agriculture, biodiversity, food security, and livelihoods. At the end of this session, participants will understand the concept and importance of plant quarantine, India's legal and regulatory framework, functions of the National Plant Protection Organization, import and export procedures, phytosanitary treatments and compliance measures, regulation of GMOs, the specific responsibilities of custom officials in safeguarding India's borders. So, what is the quarantine? So, plant quarantine is known as the first line of defense. And according to the International Plant Protection Convention, IPPC, quarantine includes all activities designed to prevent the introduction and spread of quarantine pests to ensure their official control. Every year, thousands of consignments enter India through seaports, airports, land borders, postal systems, and courier services. Even a single infested consignment can introduce a devastating pest capable of causing enormous economic losses. Example, fall armyworm, papaya mealybug, Rugo's spiraling whitefly, South American tomato leaf miner, Tuta absoluta. Such introductions highlight the importance of strong quarantine system in India. Plant quarantine serves the three major purposes: protection of agriculture, conservation of biodiversity, safe trade facilitation. In case of protection of agriculture, India's agriculture supports more than half of the population directly or indirectly. Preventing pest incursions safeguards crop production and farmers' livelihood. Conservation of biodiversity. India is the world's mega diverse countries. Exotic pests can threaten native flora and ecological balance. And in case of safe trade facilitation, quarantine measures enable international trade while ensuring biosecurity. For example, India's mango export to countries such as Japan, USA, Australia, and South Korea depend upon compliance with phytosanitary requirement of the importing country. Thus, plant quarantine protects both domestic agriculture and export opportunities. Now come to the One Health approach and biosecurity approach. Modern biosecurity follows the One Health concept. Plant health, animal health, human health, and environment health are interconnected. That is called the One Health approach. That is a modern biosecurity approach. A pest introduction can affect food availability, food prices, environmental sustainability, and rural livelihood. The International Year of Plant Health 2020 and subsequent global initiatives have emphasized that protecting plant health contributes directly to food security and ecosystem health. Biosecurity is broader than plant quarantine. It includes food safety, prevention of plant pests and diseases, prevention of animal diseases, regulation of living modified organisms, control of invasive alien species. India's biosecurity framework involves multiple ministries and agencies working together to minimize biological risk. If we talk about the plant quarantine legislations in India, to prevent the entry, establishment, and spread of exotic pests in India, as per the provisions of the Destructive Insect and Pest Act 1914 and the notification issued thereunder. So we have the act that is called the Destructive Insect and Pest Act 1914. Despite being enacted more than a century ago, it continues to provide the legal authority to regulate plant imports and prevent the introduction of dangerous pests. The objective is simple, that is to prevent entry, establishment and spread of exotic pests within India. Now, if we talk about the export and import rules and legislation in India, plant quarantine regulation involves coordination among multiple ministries like Ministry of Agriculture, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage, DPPQS, Ministry of Commerce, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, DGFT, and APEDA, Ministry of Finance, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. The interministerial coordination is essential for balancing trade facilitation and biosecurity. The Import-Export Code issued by DGFT is the basic identification number for international trade. Without an Import-Export Code, commercial import or export activities cannot be undertaken except under specified exemptions. Custom officers routinely verify IEC details during clearance process. No import and export without obtaining an IEC number unless it is exempted. There are certain categories are exempted from obtaining the import-export code like government departments, personal import not connected with trade, limited value border trade with neighboring countries. However, exemption from IEC does not mean exemption from plant quarantine regulations. Any plant material entering in India must still comply with phytosanitary requirements. As per the Director General of Foreign Trade, to import and export of any commodity, agricultural commodity, there is some mandatory documents are required like bill of lading or airway bill, commercial invoice, packing list, bill of entry. For plant products, additional documents such as import permit and phytosanitary certificate are also required. Custom officers play a critical role in verifying document authenticity and completeness. Plant quarantine legislations and regulations are operative in India through the DIP Act 1914. The plant quarantine regulation of import into India, Order 2003, is India's principal regulatory instrument governing plant imports, implemented from January 2004, and it specifies import conditions, list of prohibited commodities, defines the quarantine measures, provide pest-specific requirements, and the order is continuously updated based on pest risk analysis and emerging threats and requirement of the importers in Gazette notification. Now come to the structure and function of NPPO of India. So under the IPPC, International Plant Protection Convention, every country must designate a NPPO, National Plant Protection Organization. In India, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage functions as the NPPO, and its responsibilities includes the pest surveillance, import regulations, export certification, pest risk analysis, international reporting, and the NPPO represents India in global phytosanitary measures to the IPPC and WTO. So, if we talk about the plant quarantine strength in India, so India has a vast quarantine infrastructure, 49 seaports, 26 airports, 33 land frontier stations, 89 ICDs, inland container depots, and container freight stations, together 89, and 11 foreign post offices are there where plant quarantine stations are located, and export and import will happen through these entry points. And NBPGR National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources plays important role in germplasm exchange. Germplasm import and export will happen only through the National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi. This network ensures comprehensive coverage of international entry points. Customs and quarantine officials work together at all these locations. Now come to the online system, digital system by the plant quarantine system, plant quarantine management system, that is called the PQMS in short. The plant quarantine management system is a digital platform that streamlines quarantine operations, and it also facilitates import permits, phytosanitary certification, online applications, regulatory access. Digitalization has significantly improved transparency and efficiency of the plant quarantine activities. You can browse PQMS for other information like standard operating procedures for export, national standard on phytosanitary measures, plant quarantine order and its amendments, list of treatment providers like heat treatment providers, fumigation providers, and mail shipping and travel regulations. Now come to the National Single Window System. The National Single Window System integrates multiple regulatory approvals into a unified platform. Importers and exporters can submit applications electronically, reducing delays and improving ease of doing businesses. This platform plays a very significant role, and importers and exporters can submit their online applications for import release order, import permit, and phytosanitary certificate issuing. Now come to the Indian Custom National Trade Portal. Exporters and importers can use the IceGate, Indian Custom National Trade Portal, which is Indian Custom National Trade Portal, and it serves as a centralized hub for all electronic interactions between Indian customs and the trading community. IceGate also offers a range of services including e-filing, online amendment submissions, online duty payment, query resolution, and only integrated goods and service tax refund processing for traders. It helps in trade facilitation. Now come to the import of agriculture commodities. What are the regulations for importing the agriculture commodities in India? So import of agriculture commodities are regulated under Plant Quarantine Order 2003, which acts under the Destructive Insect Pest Act 1914. So if you see the salient feature of PQ Order 2003, so NPP of India, based on the international standards, follows a science-based approach that is called the pest risk analysis, and commodities are categorized into various schedules based on the risk levels like prohibition, restriction, regulation, low risk commodities. The risk-based system aligns with WTO SPS principles and International Plant Protection Convention standards. Now come to the prohibition. Certain commodities are prohibited from specific countries because of highly destructive pests. For example, banana due to the Moko disease, coconut and oil palm, lethal yellowing, rubber, South American leaf blight, pine wilt nematode. These pests could severely affect India's agriculture if introduced in India through these import, and that is the reason these commodities are prohibited from certain countries to import in India. Next, restricted to enter. So there is some restrictions are there, and imports are allowed only for research purposes. These imports requires import permit, phytosanitary certificate, post-entry quarantine if required, supervision by the crop-specific ICAR institutes. Such controls minimize risk while enabling scientific research. Now come to the Schedule 6. Most commercial import falls under regulated import, and for commercial import, Schedule 6 commodities are listed. Around 707 commodities are listed in Schedule 6, which includes the propagative materials and consumption materials. Requirements for import under the Schedule 6 is import permit, phytosanitary certificate, additional declaration based upon the importing country's requirement, treatment requirements, post-entry quarantine if required, and custom officials must ensure compliance before clearance. So whenever any import material comes in India, custom officials must ensure that it is related to the agriculture and it is transferred to the plant quarantine for further processing. Now come to the Schedule 7. Schedule 7 contains low risk commodities for commercial import, specifically for consumption purpose. Import conditions for these notified commodities are phytosanitary certificate and pre-shipment treatment if required. These commodities are having the least risk, and 519 commodities are listed in Schedule 6 like timber logs, herbs, spices, cut flowers, and other miscellaneous items which are having the very least risk and can be imported with only the requirement of the phytosanitary certificate, which is saying that the consignment is free from pest and diseases. Come to the Schedule 8. Schedule 8 of Plant Quarantine Order 2003 details about the list of quarantine weeds. A total 57 weeds are identified as quarantine weed species, which are regulated during the import of various commodities like cereals and pulses. Now come to the passenger baggage. So when we do international travel, sometimes passenger may carry live plants, seeds, and other plant and plant products material which may carry the pest. So it cause the danger or it cause the threat to our agriculture when new pest comes, new foreign and non native pest comes along with these plants knowingly or unknowingly or intentionally or unintentionally. Travelers often unknowingly they carry the fruits, seeds, plants, cuttings, flowers. Even small quantities may harbor the pest. Therefore, custom officials must refer intercepted plant material to plant quarantine officers for inspection, and the same shall be cleared only after the recommendations based on the inspection of the PQ officer on duty at the airport. So now we will discuss about the role of customs in transboundary movement of plant material, including the GMOs and wooden packaging material. Custom officers are India's frontline defenders at international borders. Their responsibilities include identifying the regulated plant material, verifying the documents, referring consignment to the quarantine authorities if related to the agriculture product, preventing illegal imports, ensuring compliance with phytosanitary regulations. Without custom operations, quarantine regulations cannot be effectively implemented. Now come to the import permit. So import permit are issued by the authorities like NBPGR. So NBPGR issues the import permit for the germplasm, and for import of plant material for commercial and consumption purpose, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage and regional and plant quarantine stations will issue the import permit. Importers are required to obtain import permit from one of these agencies as appropriate. And verification of permit validity is an essential custom function. They have to verify whether the import permit is within the specified date or it is expired. This is the process of release of plant material for commercial purpose. So consignment, first it will come at the port of entry, then document verification at the port of entry by the customs will be done. Then quarantine department will take the samples for inspection. If any pest is there, foreign pest is there, then if it passed, then consignment will be released, and plant protection advisor will issue the release order. You can see here, e-phytosanitary certificate is issued by the exporting countries NPPO, and it certifies that the consignment complies with India's import requirements. Customs officers should also verify that authenticity of phytosanitary certificate and import permit, validity, additional declarations, and commodity details. So this is the specimen copy of phytosanitary certificate issued by the exporting country. Come to the import through post parcels. So increasing e-commerce has significantly increased plant material movement through postal and courier channels. These pathways present high risk because consignments are often small and may escape attention. That is the reason if post parcels are intercepted by the customs at notified foreign post offices, and if it is related to the plant and plant products, it will be referred to the plant quarantine station with detention note, and import details recorded in PQ register upon receipt of the material, and there will be the visual examination for live insect, nematode, galls, burnt balls, soil clouds, and weed seeds, and if required, X-ray screening need to be done, and if any restricted species are there, it should be sent to the laboratory testing. If they found infested or infected, fumigation and treatment can be done, and after the treatment, it should be returned to the foreign post office for release to the consignee. And importer pays the inspection and fumigation fees. If prohibited or infected with notified pest, it should be destroyed by the incineration in presence of customs. So customs officials must remain vigilant and ensure all intercepted plant material undergoes quarantine inspection. Imports of genetically modified organisms are regulated under Environmental Protection Act 1986, Foreign Trade Act 1992, Plant Quarantine Order 2003, and research imports requires approval from RCGM, that is the Review Committee on Genetic Manipulation, and commercial imports requires approval from GEAC, that is the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. Unauthorized GMO imports can have significant environmental and regulatory consequences. Export of genetically modified plants and planting material, besides requiring authorization of GEAC, also attracts the provision of Biological Diversity Act 2002, the latter related to access and use of biological resources. Now we'll talk about the strengthening customs to ensure enforcement of GMO import regulations. The custom officials can play a crucial role in ensuring legitimate import of GMOs in the country. Customs officials are central to GMO regulation. They must verify the import permits, regulatory approvals, documentation, compliance with biosafety conditions. Advanced detection technologies are increasingly being used for GMO monitorings. Now come to very important point here, that ISPM 15, that is the International Standard on Phytosanitary Measures number 15, and National Standard on Phytosanitary Measures 9. Wood packaging material is a major pathway for invasive foreign pests. To address this risk, countries follows the ISPM 15, and wood packaging must be heat treated or fumigated. That is the packaging material, wood packaging material, and it should be marked with the official ISPM 15 stamp. Customs officers should inspect wooden pallets, crates, and dunneys for compliance markings. Non-compliant material must be referred to plant quarantine authorities. Wood packaging material is frequently made of raw wood. That is the reason it is a pathway for the introduction and spread of quarantine pest, you can see wood boring beetles, pine wood nematodes, and powder post beetles affecting the wooden packaging material. So high risk of introduction and spread of quarantine pest is there. Packaging material is very often, reused, repaired, or remanufactured, and that is the reason we need to treat it. Then only it should be exported to the other countries in compliance of ISPM 15 and NSPM 9. You can see here the wood packaging material, the pallets, spools, reels, crates, boxes, all comes under the packaging material or tonnage, and these are regulated under the ISPM 15. So here you can see the ISPM 15 mark. NPPO should work with custom authorities to formulate risk-based inspection procedures, and custom officials should see the compliance of ISPM 15 and appropriate mark on the wooden packaging material. Non-compliance shall be referred to the plant quarantine department. You can see here the mark assigned to the facility treatment provider. You can see the IPPC wheat stamp. IN is the country code for India. 000 is the treatment provider code, and ST is the treatment code, that is the heat treatment. Instead of ST, there will be sometimes MB, that is a methyl bromide. So in India, only heat treatment and methyl bromide fumigation is the two treatments are approved. This mark should be there on the wooden packaging material. Now come to the NIPHM's role and contributions in biosecurity. So NIPHM supports national biosecurity through capacity building, training programs, pest diagnostics, phytosanitary treatment facilities, research and extension activities. NIPHM regularly train custom officers, quarantine staff, exporters, and other stakeholders on emerging biosecurity challenges. NIPHM is equipped with state-of-art laboratories like Biosecurity Museum, seed health testing laboratories, diagnostic laboratories, heat treatment facility in compliance with ISPM 15 and NSPM 9, fumigation facility, as well as container fumigation and molecular diagnostic lab, which cater the need to provide hands-on practical exposure to the participants. To conclude, plant quarantine is essential for protecting India's agriculture, biodiversity, and food security. As trade volumes increase, the role of custom officers become even more important. Every inspection, document verification, and interception contributes to safeguarding the nation from invasive pests, diseases, and unauthorized biological material. Together, customs, plant quarantine officials, and other regulatory agencies form a strong biosecurity shield protecting India's future. These facts and figure in the presentation is latest by May 26. Please visit above references for latest information like PQMS website for update, Plant Quarantine Order 2003, Directorate General of Foreign Trade website, Indian Custom National Trade Portal, National Single Window System, and DPPQS website regularly for the latest updates. Thank you.